Have you ever noticed something oddly mysterious about life? The more desperately we chase after it, the faster it seems to slip away. The tighter we try to hold on, the more it effortlessly slips right through our fingers. It's almost like life has a mind of its own, unpredictable, elusive, and yet deeply wise. But here's the paradox. The moment we finally stop struggling, stop forcing, and stop resisting, something extraordinary begins to happen. Life doesn't spiral into chaos as we might fear. Instead, it starts to flow with clarity, not with emptiness or loss, but with a harmonious alignment we never expected. This episode dives into that beautiful mystery, the quiet, subtle power of surrender. And no, surrender doesn't mean giving up or admitting defeat. It means something much deeper, giving in. Giving in to the natural rhythm of life, to the unseen intelligence that guides the world, even when we can't fully grasp it. What happens when we stop trying to control every detail? What unfolds when we place our trust in the process itself? When we loosen our grasp and allow life to unfold on its own terms? A remarkable transformation takes place. Because maybe, just maybe, everything we've been chasing so hard is already making its way to us, if only we would step aside and let it come. There's a moment everyone faces at some point, in our work, in our relationships, or in the pursuit of our deepest dreams, when no matter how fiercely we try, everything seems stuck, nothing moves forward. What if that moment isn't a sign to push harder, but a quiet invitation to pause, breathe, and surrender? We all know that no matter how hard we try, the doors we long for often remain firmly closed. But why is that? We keep pushing, planning, and hustling endlessly, yet those doors still won't open. So we try even harder, tightening our grip, telling ourselves that more control will bring better results. But what if the very effort we believe is helping us is actually holding us back? What if chasing too many things is exactly what pushes everything away? It's truly a strange truth. The more force we apply, the more life seems to resist us. And the more we resist that reality, the more frustrated and disappointed we become. But then something curious happens. Perhaps when we're tired, when all options seem exhausted, when we are forced to let go, not because we want to, but because we have no choice, we begin to relax. In that space, without pressure or demand, things start to shift. You might think letting go is a sign of weakness or giving up. But real surrender isn't passive. It's active openness. It's not abandoning your dreams. It's releasing the rigid attachment to how and when those dreams must come true. There is a deep wisdom in that, a trust in the intelligence of life itself. Like a river finding its way to the sea, not by force, but by following the natural curves of the earth. Have you ever wondered if this very act of letting go is the key that opens the door you have been searching for? Building on the idea of letting go and holding on, imagine a simple yet profound image. Picture a clenched fist. It's strong, right? But that hand can't hold much. It also can't receive anything new because it's too busy gripping tightly. Now, shift your mind to that same hand, but open and relaxed, ready to embrace whatever comes its way. This image perfectly symbolizes surrender, not that you don't care, but that you've stopped micromanaging every tiny detail of life, and you've ceased believing that sheer willpower must make everything happen. Think of Sarah, an artist who spent many years striving to succeed. She did everything right, advancing, networking, constantly working without rest, yet her art felt forced, and her life heavy with pressure. until she burned out. Eventually, Sarah decided to stop trying so hard to be successful and returned to the pure joy of creating. No agenda, no strategy, just self-expression. And that's when everything changed. A gallery owner happened to see her work, felt its honesty, and offered her a solo exhibition. That single moment opened doors she had been knocking on for years. But what's remarkable is that this shift didn't come from more effort, it came from less resistance. Perhaps that is the deepest lesson we need to understand. Next, let's dive deeper into how desire and control affect our lives. Desire itself is not the problem, it's human nature. Everyone has something they long for. But when desire turns into control, when we start measuring our worth by how fast things happen or how closely reality matches our plans, that's when we begin to lose touch with the natural flow of life. Continuing from the difficulties he had experienced, every time he sat down to write, a feeling of anxiety would take over his mind. The relentless, what if thoughts surrounded him. What if the writing isn't good enough? What if no one reads it? What if I fail? Instead of continuing to write, he found ways to avoid it by rearranging his bookshelves or rereading old drafts. This inner resistance kept him busy, yet at the same time, it kept him away from the blank page. Then, when he dared to face that fear, not seeing it as a weakness but as part of the creative process, everything began to change. He didn't eliminate the resistance but learned to move in harmony with it. This is the essence of letting go when facing obstacles. It's not about completely overcoming them, but about recognizing them and still choosing to move forward. Kindness to yourself and curiosity will help you on this path. Instead of criticizing yourself as lazy or undisciplined, try asking, what is this resistance trying to protect me from? What belief is hidden behind this fear? You might believe that success will cost you important relationships, or that failure will prove you're not good enough, or that giving your all and still failing will hurt more than not trying at all. These beliefs are heavy, but they don't last forever. When we shine light clearly on them, those barriers begin to dissolve. Surrender is the quiet act of gently stepping back and trusting that what is meant for us will find its way to us. Not because we chase it harder, but because we align ourselves with it. This doesn't mean we stop taking action. On the contrary, our actions come from clarity, not desperation. We move forward not out of fear of being left behind, but because we are inspired. This subtle difference changes everything about how we experience life. Surrender does not mean passivity, it means intelligent, conscious participation. We plant the seed, we water it, we bring it sunlight, but we don't keep digging it up to check if it's growing. So ask yourself, are there things in your life you are holding onto too tightly? Are there dreams you are clutching so hard they can't breathe? What parts of your path are you forcing instead of letting flow? Maybe it's time to loosen your grip. Maybe it's time to let go of the need to know exactly how everything will unfold. The truth is, sometimes we don't need to understand everything. What truly matters is listening to ourselves, acting in alignment, and trusting that letting go doesn't pull us off the right path. In fact, it places us exactly where we need to be. If there's one shift you could make today, let it be moving from feeling pressured to fully embracing presence in the moment. Don't let go of your dream, but release the limits of timelines, formulas, and control. You'll be amazed at how your life begins to move in new and unexpected ways. Sometimes, what holds us back isn't the outside world, but something quieter, deeper, and very personal. It's not a lack of time, resources, or opportunity. it's resistance within us. An invisible force that shows up just as we're about to do something meaningful. It whispers doubts, feeds fears, and convinces us that staying safe is better than moving forward. Most of the time, we don't even notice this resistance. We just feel stuck, unmotivated, or worse, we sabotage ourselves and call it logic. Resistance takes many forms. It can look like procrastination or sound like the inner critic telling you your dream is unrealistic. Sometimes, you might feel exhausted the moment you sit down to work on something that truly matters to you. It can even trick you into thinking you're being productive. You clean the kitchen, check emails, do everything except the one thing that genuinely calls to your heart. That's the trap of resistance. It hides in plain sight, pretending to protect us, but in reality, it keeps us small. But here's the important part. Resistance only shows up where something meaningful is trying to emerge. It's not a sign of failure, but a sign of potential. Like a wall you bump into when walking in the dark. It tells you that you're on the edge of something real. And instead of stepping back, maybe what we need to do is pause and ask, what am I really afraid of? Because most resistance is rooted in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. It's the clash between the part of you that wants to grow and the part that wants to stay safe. That inner friction is natural. It means you're alive, and something important is happening. Think of Adam, a writer who dreamed of publishing his novel. He had talent, vision, and even time. Building on the previous reflection about inner resistance, let's explore how we can actually converse with and soften those invisible forces within ourselves. You can try something that seems simple but holds immense power. Talk to your resistance. Write a letter from that inner voice that whispers. Don't do it. Stop. Let it speak. Whether it's the voice of fear, doubt, or anything holding you back. But don't stop there. Write back, not to argue, but to comfort yourself. You might say to that voice, I hear you. I understand your worries, but I can't stay stuck here forever. Because staying stuck may feel safe, like a shelter, but in reality, it slowly suffocates you. Have you ever felt trapped in a small, confined room where it's hard to breathe? That's exactly what being stuck feels like when fear holds you back. The deep truth is, you were not born merely to seek safety. You were created to express yourself, to create, and to continually grow. That means learning to dance with resistance, not letting it run the show, but taking back control of your life. One powerful way to soften resistance is to break big things down into smaller, manageable pieces. Big dreams can overwhelm us like a towering mountain blocking the way. So why not shrink them? Instead of aiming to write a whole book, start with just one paragraph. Don't rush to launch a business. Just sketch out an idea. And instead of trying to change your entire life overnight, take one honest, genuine step forward. Resistance feeds on overwhelm, but presence, being mindful and focused on each small step, gradually dissolves it. Remember, you're not broken just because you feel resistance. In fact, every person who has done something meaningful has carried this invisible weight. The difference is they didn't wait for it to disappear, they moved through it. They breathed with it, trusting that on the other side of fear lies freedom. So today, instead of asking how to get rid of your resistance, ask yourself how to understand it. What truth is resistance trying to reveal beneath it? With compassion, take one step anyway, because the moment you do, you reclaim your power, not through force, but through surrender, through the quiet, courageous act of moving forward even when your fear begs you to stop. There is a kind of silence that follows resistance, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy kind. It's the silence where we start doubting everything. Is this worth it? Am I doing something wrong? Should I keep going, or is this a sign to stop? In that uncertainty, we often reach for control. We try to map out every possible outcome, seek absolute guarantees from life. But life has never worked that way. And maybe it shouldn't. The truth is there is a much larger rhythm at play, a greater intelligence beyond what we can see. Some call it the universe. Others call it divine timing. Whatever the name, plans are useful. Effort is important, but they're not everything. There is a greater power guiding each step of our journey. When we stop trying to control everything, we begin to realize something profound. There is a force guiding us, a wisdom beyond the grasp of reason. No matter if you call it fate, the universe, God, or simply the flow of life, the essence remains the same. There is a force quietly moving through your life, one that knows you better than you know yourself. And when you start to trust it, strange things happen. Everything begins to fall into place naturally and gently, in ways you could never have predicted. But trust is never easy, because it asks you to let go of something modern humans obsess over: control. Not just control in thought, but in emotion. It's the courage to accept that you cannot foresee the outcome. It's walking a path where the destination is often unclear. The mind always craves certainty, but maybe the heart does not. Maybe what the heart needs is not clarity, but connection. Imagine Maya, a woman who spent many years trying to find her purpose. She read all kinds of books, tried countless jobs, and meticulously made 5-year plans. Yet no matter what she did, she felt lost, as if an important piece was missing. Until one day, she stopped seeking answers outside herself. She began to listen, not to experts, not to trending advice, but to her own heart. Maya noticed what moved her, what made her feel truly alive. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was real. She followed what stirred her, one small decision at a time, one gentle step after another. And a year later, Maya found herself doing work she had never imagined, a work that felt meaningful, alive, and fully aligned with who she was. Not because she forced herself into it, but because she trusted the unfolding process of life. That is what trust looks like. Trusting the universe isn't about sitting still and waiting for signs. It's about staying open to the unexpected, being alert to subtle nudges, and brave enough to act even when nothing is guaranteed. Just because things aren't going according to your plan doesn't mean they're going wrong. Sometimes, not getting what you want is what opens the door to what you truly need. But to accept this, you must let go of your obsession with timing. You have to stop measuring your progress by someone else's clock. The universe doesn't operate on deadlines. It moves according to alignment. And when the time comes, when you are ready on levels you may not even see, things shift quickly. Not because you chase harder, but because you've become the person needed to receive what's coming. Of course, trust is not passivity. It's not a reason to sit back and hope. It's a reason to stay present, to show up fully, and to keep moving forward with an open heart. You still take action. You still do your part. But instead of acting under pressure, you act in partnership with yourself and the wondrous flow of life. Continuing from the idea of being in harmony with life, imagine yourself as a dancer perfectly in sync with the flowing rhythm. Not someone awkwardly dragging the music behind. Within that harmony lies a wonderful freedom, a freedom not of forcing, but of accepting and moving with the beat. Have you ever realized that life is not against you? It's not a trial or punishment you must endure. On the contrary, life is like a skilled artisan, gently shaping and molding who you are. The things that don't go as planned are often not failures, but gentle redirections, closed doors not to block you, but to lead you toward a better path. Delays and obstacles are not meaningless. They are times of preparation for something greater awaiting you. But how can you recognize this if you keep forcing yourself to control your life's story? Trying to make everything happen your way? Ask yourself, where and when have you forced outcomes unnecessarily? Have you mistaken struggle for progress? Can you start trusting consciously, not blindly, but with deep awareness, that what truly belongs to you is already on its way? When you release your grip on timelines and move in rhythm with something greater, you'll notice a magical shift. It's not just that better things come closer, but that you feel more grounded, more open, and more peacefully at ease inside. That is the quiet magic of trust. It doesn't make life perfect, but it makes it real. And in a world full of noise and pressure, that is more than enough. We often think that if we just try harder, do more, or push through, everything will change. But what if the real key isn't force, but spaciousness? What if what we need is not struggling, but allowing? Action can come from fear or from inner alignment. When acting out of fear, we rush, control, and demand results. We constantly measure our worth by outcomes and look to the future to validate the present. But when acting from alignment, there is calmness and clarity. We are not chasing something outside ourselves. We respond to something real within. Allowing means letting go of the need to force things into place. It means recognizing that not everything requires immediate intervention. Some situations need time to unfold properly. Some problems don't need to be fixed right now. Answers only arrive when the surrounding noise quiets enough for us to hear. But of course, this is not easy. We just discussed how society often pushes us to believe that controlling everything is the only path to success. But is control really the only way to achieve? Most of us have long been conditioned to think that true success comes only when we hold full control. We are praised for being proactive, for persevering through challenges, for making things happen with our own hands. That's why the idea of stepping back, pausing, or allowing things to flow naturally is often misunderstood as laziness or irresponsibility. Yet, there is a discipline in knowing how to allow. To allow requires a strength that not everyone easily possesses. It's the strength to hold space for yourself and for what is happening around you. At the same time, it demands the wisdom to know when to intervene and when to let go. Allowing is not passive waiting, it is a mindful, alert presence. You're not ignoring what's going on, you're simply choosing not to react impulsively. Not letting panic or pressure drive your actions. You choose to respond from calmness, from fully being present in the moment. Have you noticed that there is a special kind of power in that calmness? A power that does not demand noisy attention but commands respect. A power that does not seek validation yet radiates quiet, deep confidence. More often than not, the solutions we desperately seek come more easily when we stop chasing and start listening. Think about how nature works. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. It needs good soil, open space, sunlight, stillness, and time. If we try to rush this process, the seed will be harmed, its growth hindered. But when we allow the right conditions to support it, it grows strong and healthy. Similarly, our goals, relationships, and inner healing don't need more pressure. They need the right space to flourish. So maybe the question is not, what else can I do? But what can I let go of? Can you let go of the need to have all the answers right now? Can you stop forcing solutions and allow things to unfold in their own time? Can you trust that your energy is better spent cultivating clarity than controlling outcomes? Because in that space of allowing, something beautiful happens. You begin to flow with life, not fight against it. You begin to listen to your own rhythm, not just the noise around you. And from that place, things start to align in ways you never expected. Not because you pushed harder, but because you got out of your own way. So take a deep breath. Soften the urgency. Allow yourself to be fully here now. You don't need to force what's meant to flow. You don't need to chase what is already making its way to you. Allow it, trust it, respond with presence, not panic, and you'll find what is truly meant for you doesn't need to be forced. We just talked about how life sometimes doesn't unfold the way we want. And the root cause often lies in the expectations we set for ourselves. These expectations, though silent and invisible, become burdens we carry every day. Expectations are like a heavy backpack filled with thoughts about who we should be, how fast we must progress, or what success should look like. They sneak into every corner of our minds, distorting our perception of reality and often leaving us disappointed. But it's not because life has betrayed us, it's because it didn't match the perfect script we wrote in our heads. In truth, that script is rarely based on reality. It's formed from fear, comparison, and a need to control. We don't just want things to happen, we want them to happen our way, on our schedule, and under the conditions we set. And when things don't go as planned, we feel betrayed, as if the whole world has turned against us. But here's the truth. Expectations create tension. And tension blocks the flow of life. It's not wrong to desire something. Desire is natural. And having a vision is powerful. The problem begins when desire hardens into rigid expectations. Then, we narrow our focus so much that we miss all the wonderful things life is trying to offer outside that narrow frame. We stop being open to surprise, mystery, and the beauty of not knowing. There's a quiet freedom in letting go of expectations, not because you don't care, but because you care enough to let things unfold naturally. You learn to show up fully, give your best, and release the need for a specific outcome. That's not giving up, that's growing up. Have you ever stopped to consider how much pain we suffer because of expectations? You expected someone to react a certain way, but they didn't. You expected to reach a goal by a certain time, but you didn't. You thought you'd feel different after hitting a milestone, but that feeling never came. In all these moments, the pain didn't come from what happened, it came from what you expected to happen. That is the hidden cost. Expectations tie your inner peace to things beyond your control, making your joy conditional. And when life inevitably takes a different path, you feel broken, not because you truly are, but because you built your inner world around a timeline or outcome that never truly belonged to you. So, what's the alternative? It's not indifference, it's presence. It's devotion to the process rather than obsession with the prize. When you focus on the journey, you learn to live more peacefully and firmly, no matter the changes or challenges. It's the choice to show up every day, to care deeply, and to dream boldly, but without letting the weight of expectation dictate your worth or happiness. You can still make plans. You can still work hard. You can still hold a vision for your life, but hold it lightly. Let that vision breathe and live, leaving space for life to surprise you. Because often, the best things that happen to us are the ones we never saw coming. And we only recognize them when we're not blinded by what we thought was supposed to happen. So pause and ask yourself, what expectations are you holding onto that no longer serve you? What stories have you written about how your life should look by now? And what might happen if you released those stories? Not to fall behind, but to come back to what's real. Because when you do, you'll feel it, a lightness, a space, a sense of calm amid uncertainty. And in that space, something powerful begins to move, not outside of you, but within you. A freedom, a clarity, a quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you'll meet it with presence, not pressure, not panic, but with open hands and an open heart. And that, more than any fixed outcome, is where peace truly lives. Silence isn't empty. Stillness isn't passive. In fact, often in those quiet moments, when we stop doing, stop chasing, stop controlling, the most powerful shifts take place. But we rarely make room for stillness. We think it's unproductive. We treat it like a pause between the real parts of life. Yet in truth, stillness is where we reconnect with ourselves, with clarity, with something deeper than thought. Meditation, in its purest form, isn't about escaping life. It's about meeting life fully. It's a space where we practice surrender, not as a dramatic gesture, but as a quiet return to presence. A return to the breath, a return to what's happening right now. Without judgment, without resistance. We often carry tension without realizing it, in our thoughts, in our bodies, in the subtle urgency with which we approach each moment. Meditation helps us see that. It slows us down enough to notice the noise we've grown used to living in. And by noticing it, we begin to loosen its grip. You don't have to be a monk to benefit from this. Anyone can find that peace, with just a little pause, a little awareness, and a few deep breaths in the midst of a busy life. We just talked about finding peace and surrendering within the soul, but did you know? To begin, you don't need hours of silence or a perfect environment. In fact, just a few minutes of intentional awareness each day can transform your entire day. Try sitting quietly for a moment. Close your eyes. Feel your breath gently flowing in and out of your body. Don't try to control or change it, simply observe. When thoughts arise, and they certainly will, notice them. But don't chase after them or cling to them. Let them drift by like clouds across the vast sky. Do you realize this isn't about stopping your thoughts entirely, but about no longer being pulled around by them? Over time, you'll discover that beneath all the noise, there is a deeper stillness, a kind of quiet that isn't empty, but full of awareness, full of life. In that awareness, surrender becomes natural. Because you're no longer trapped in what should be. You're fully present with what is. Meditation isn't the only way to experience this, but it's one of the most direct and effective. It trains the mind to release control, helps the nervous system to soften, and gives the heart space to feel again without judgment. From that space, new insights arise, not from force, but from stillness. Not from struggle, but from connection. The world is loud. Our minds are louder still. Yet inside each of us, there is always a quiet space, untouched by it all. A space of peace, of knowing, of gentle presence. And when you touch that space regularly, even if only for a few moments, your whole relationship with life changes. You stop reacting automatically and start responding thoughtfully. You stop needing to fix everything and begin trusting that some things simply are. This is the true foundation of surrender, not just a mindset. but a daily practice, a grounded return to self. Not the self full of expectations and demands, but the self that simply is, the self that watches, breathes, and allows. So, ask yourself, can you give yourself 5 minutes today? Just 5 minutes to be still? Not to achieve anything, not to figure anything out, but simply to be with what is here. Because the more often you return to that space, the more natural surrender becomes, not as an idea, but as a way of living. And when surrender becomes a habit, life no longer feels like something you have to manage. It becomes something you are in conversation with, something you trust, something you flow with, one breath at a time. Have you ever wondered if true strength is really about controlling everything? Or is true strength knowing how to let go and flow with life's rhythm? We feel more powerful when we believe we are in control of everything. From meticulously managing our schedules, clinging tightly to every little routine, to obsessing endlessly over outcomes, as if these are the lifelines keeping us from drifting away. But in truth, most of this craving for control doesn't come from real strength. It comes from fear, fear of uncertainty, fear of loss, fear of the unknown, and this fear drives us to impose and force life to go our way, forgetting that life has its own natural rhythm. The paradox is that the tighter we try to hold on, the more things seem to slip through our fingers. Control creates only an illusion of safety but rarely brings true peace. Instead, it burdens us with stress, tension, and the constant pressure that everything must go according to plan. And when the plan falls apart, we collapse, doubt ourselves, and feel like failures. But have we really failed? Or have we simply deceived ourselves into believing we ever truly controlled things from the start? The key lies in surrender. Surrender isn't giving up. It's a challenge to that old belief. It opens up a new way to see true power, not the power of force, but the power of flexibility, not domination, but adaptation. True power isn't loud, it's deep and steady. It doesn't need to prove itself but trusts in the ability to respond rather than react. This shift is far from easy. It requires us to relearn how we view control. Most of us were taught that control is necessary for survival, that without planning, preparing, and predicting, everything will fall apart. But life isn't a machine. It's a living process, and processes don't respond well to force. They respond to presence, awareness, and alignment. To surrender the need for control is not to relinquish responsibility. It is to shift from forcing outcomes to choosing how we respond to them. From the mindset of, I must make this happen, to, I will meet whatever happens with clarity and intention. This change transforms everything, your stress levels, your self-worth, and your ability to handle setbacks. You stop internalizing every challenge as a reflection of your failure. Instead, you begin to see each moment as a chance to listen, adjust, and grow. Control is rigid, surrender is responsive, and responsiveness is what life truly asks of us. Continuing from the previous part, when we realize that we are not defined by external results or achievements, the important thing is to gradually let go of tightly attaching ourselves to the plans or goals we set. This doesn't mean you stop making plans or setting goals. No, you still need to do that, but you stop identifying yourself with them. You are not your results. You are not your productivity or your ability to control every tiny detail of life. You are the awareness behind it all, the one who can choose again, adjust course, and keep moving forward without being weighed down by perfectionism. Take a moment to observe where control is ruling your life. Where are you holding so tightly that you've lost your natural ease? Have your daily routines become cages instead of supportive frameworks? Can you soften a little toward yourself? Can you trust that not everything needs to be managed down to the smallest detail? Because in that softening, you don't lose power. On the contrary, you gain freedom, the freedom to adapt, to pivot, to flow with life instead of constantly struggling against it. You become more resilient, not because you control everything, but because you no longer have to. That is true strength. The strength of bending without breaking, of listening before speaking, of a mind that knows it is not here to conquer life but to collaborate with it. In that collaboration, control fades away and something deeper takes its place: wisdom, trust, and a quiet confidence that you can face whatever comes. There is a paradox we rarely talk about. The moment you stop desperately needing something is often when it begins to show up. Not because life is playing games with you, but because letting go changes your energy. It shifts your focus from lack to presence, from grasping to receiving, and in that shift, you create space for life to respond. It's strange how it works. You try, you push, you chase, and nothing moves. Then in a moment of quiet surrender, you release your attachment to the outcome. Suddenly, things begin to unfold. Opportunities arrive, clarity comes, and people show up. It doesn't always happen instantly, but the pattern is real. Surrender invites alignment, not because you gave up, but because you gave in to flow, to timing, to trust. But to truly understand this, we need to question something deeper. Why do we want what we want so badly? Is it because we believe having it will make us whole, safe, or finally enough? As mentioned earlier, often it is our excessive desire to control and attachment to outcomes that steals true peace from our lives. Now, let's dive deeper into that mindset. So much of our striving doesn't come from inspiration but from the belief that we are incomplete without the thing we're chasing. That belief creates unnecessary pressure, an inner voice that says, "Until this happens, I cannot be at peace." Surrender breaks that cycle. It allows us to want something while still feeling whole in the present moment. We can pursue goals without becoming so consumed that we lose our calm. Surrender separates desire from desperation, and it is in that separation where true freedom begins. This doesn't mean abandoning our goals. On the contrary, we still show up, do the work, and take the steps, but without gripping outcomes like a lifeline. We stop measuring our self-worth by whether things go our way. Instead, we realize that how we live matters more than what we achieve. There is a profound paradox here. Letting go actually brings more, not less. This isn't a trick or a gimmick. It is a fundamental principle in the flow of life. Force creates resistance, while openness creates flow. When you loosen your grip, you return to the present moment, where decisions become clearer, vision sharper, actions more precise, and less noisy. Imagine how differently you show up when you are calm, centered, and not dependent on something happening in order to feel okay. Your energy shifts. Your presence becomes naturally magnetic. You're not pushing people or opportunities away with tension. You're inviting them with authenticity. And even when things don't go as hoped, you don't collapse or spiral. Because you're no longer attached to a specific outcome. You are committed to truth, growth, and showing up with integrity, regardless of how the outside world responds. This is the power of surrender. It gives you your life back, not as a reward for letting go, but as a natural result of being fully here, no longer postponing peace until conditions are perfect. So ask yourself, what are you gripping so tightly that it causes more tension than movement? What are you afraid will slip away if you stop chasing it so hard? And what would it feel like to want something deeply without needing it to define you? That shift is everything. It doesn't take away your passion. It doesn't dull your ambition. It simply grounds it. It reminds you that you are already enough. You probably remember from the previous part that life is not something to conquer but to align with. Now, let's dive deeper into this truth in our daily life and close relationships. Life is not a battle we need to win. It is a flow we need to harmonize with. When you live from that space, free, focused, and fully present, what you truly need often comes to you naturally. Not because you demand or force it, but because you are finally ready to receive it. Have you ever noticed how, in our closest relationships, we often, consciously or unconsciously, try to control others? We want them to become the image we expect, respond the way we want, love us by our definition, and meet our needs without us even asking. But when that doesn't happen, frustration begins to creep in. We start managing, correcting, sometimes even manipulating others, not always with ill intent, but rooted deep in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing connection. Yet surrender teaches us an important lesson. Love is not control. Love does not mean shaping someone else to fit your comfort zone. Love means allowing them to be fully themselves, even when it challenges you, even when it confronts your own insecurities. Surrender in relationships doesn't mean silence or avoidance. It means releasing the illusion that closeness requires control. True connection can only thrive in freedom, not pressure. The more you try to control how someone shows up, the more tension you create. Trying to force emotional safety through control only makes the relationship less safe. People need space to be real, to change, and to grow. That space can only exist when we are willing to surrender our assumptions about who they should be. However, surrendering does not mean allowing dysfunction. It doesn't mean tolerating harm or settling for less than what's healthy. It means knowing the difference between expressing your needs and trying to control the outcome. Between holding someone accountable and trying to rewrite their personality. Between loving someone for who they are and resenting them for not becoming who you wanted them to be. There is a strange beauty in letting go of the script we have written for others. In choosing to meet people as they are today, not who we hope they will become tomorrow. Have you ever wondered how seeing and accepting others as they truly are might change the way you love them? The key is not that we stop caring, but that we begin to listen more deeply. When we soften our approach, becoming less reactive, that is when deeper understanding starts to emerge. Communication becomes easier. And conflicts shift from blaming to seeking clarity. Instead of trying to win every argument, we learn to connect with one another. And this connection, born from surrender, often brings a deeper fulfillment than anything we could force. Because now, it's not based on conditions or performance, but rooted in true presence. You show up sincerely, and they show up, not perfectly, but honestly. Take a moment to reflect. In your relationships, where are you holding on too tightly? Where are you trying to control the narrative out of fear? And what might change if you let go, not of the person, but of the pressure you place on them? The answer may feel uncomfortable at first, but discomfort often brings freedom. The freedom to feel what is real. The freedom to relate without armor. The freedom to love without clinging. When two people meet from that space, something sacred happens, not because they control each other, but because they choose to honor each other moment by moment. This is the quiet strength of surrendered love. It doesn't seek to possess, it seeks to understand. And in that understanding, it finds a deeper connection, one built not on power, but on presence. The present moment is often overlooked. We get busy reaching for what's next, regretting what's past, or worrying about what could go wrong, forgetting that life is actually happening here and now. And this is the only space where anything real can be experienced, the only place where joy, clarity, love, and transformation are possible. But living in the present requires something many of us resist, surrendering the need to mentally escape it. We escape in subtle ways: constant planning, endless distractions, replaying conversations, anticipating outcomes. Our minds rush ahead, convinced that the next moment holds more value than this one. But the next moment is just another now. And if we don't know how to be present in this one, we will miss all the others as well. Surrendering to the now doesn't mean we stop dreaming or preparing. It means we stop resisting what is, so we can truly embrace and live each moment fully. Continuing from the idea of how we embrace life, let's dive deeper into the present moment, where your true power begins. Life unfolds before us in its most natural form, not for us to fight it with expectations or judgment. Instead, we learn to fully accept it, allowing the present moment to be enough. Enough not because it's perfect, nor because it's easy, but simply enough for us to exist and truly feel. This shift holds a quiet power that many overlook. When we pause and immerse ourselves in the now, something magical happens within. Our spirit softens. The noise inside our head quiets down, and we breathe more deeply and naturally. Our perception becomes clearer, as if the veil obscuring the truth slowly lifts. We realize that most of the suffering we endure isn't caused by the moment itself, but by our refusal to fully enter it, to live fully in that moment. Your strength and clarity truly live here, in the now. When you are fully present, you are no longer pulled apart by 100 worries about what ifs or should haves. You stand firm, unshaken. And it is this steadiness that makes life feel less chaotic, because you are no longer scattered across imagined timelines your mind creates. You have returned to your center. This does not mean the present moment is always peaceful. Sometimes it carries pain, uncertainty, but even then, there is something steady beneath it all, a stillness, a profound presence. And the more you learn to return to that space, no matter what is happening, the more resilient you become. We often wait for external circumstances to change so we can find peace. But peace does not come from a perfect life. It comes from fully living the life you have. And that journey begins when you surrender the habit of postponing presence, no longer saying, "I'll feel okay when," but instead choosing, "I will show up now." Because now is where everything happens. Every insight, every transformation, every moment of connection, courage, or creativity, it all begins in the now. And when you surrender to it, not because it's perfect but because it's real, you begin to move through life with more grace, clarity, and power than you ever imagined possible. So gently ask yourself, where are you? Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically. Are you here? Or are you lost in a future you cannot control or a past you cannot change? If you are not here, come back. Come back to the breath, to the feeling in your chest, to the ground beneath your feet. Come back to what is real. We talked about the importance of the present moment, not something to rush through, but something to fully live. Now, let's dive deeper into that. This moment, just as it is, is not something to hurry past. It's something to live, to feel, and to experience fully, every single second. When you truly live it, you discover that surrender isn't just about giving up control. It's about coming home to yourself, to your breath, to the now that's unfolding right here and now. So much of what we chase is actually already within reach: peace, clarity, connection, purpose. But often, we miss it, not because it's hidden, but because we move too fast, hold on too tightly, and try too hard to force life into a shape it was never meant to take. Amid all that effort, we forget something crucial. Surrender is not giving up. It's tuning in. It's choosing to meet life where it is, not where we wish it to be. It's trusting that we don't have to carry everything alone. Control is not the key to freedom. Presence is. You may force outcomes and get temporary results, but only surrender brings lasting alignment. An alignment that doesn't just change what we experience but transforms who we are while experiencing it. Maybe the real question isn't, what do I need to make happen? But what am I being asked to let go of? Which beliefs no longer serve you? What expectations are stealing your peace? What control are you holding so tightly that it keeps joy at a distance? And what would happen if, just this once, you softened your grip, slowed your pace, and simply let life meet you where you are? This is not a philosophy to admire from afar. It's a practice, a path, a way of showing up in the world that is honest, grounded, and deeply courageous, because it takes courage to stop pushing. It takes strength to be still, and it takes trust to believe that what's meant for you will never need to be forced. So, as you step back into your day, carry this truth with you. Surrender is not the end of effort, it's the beginning of true power. A power that moves with life, not against it. A power that doesn't demand but invites, doesn't control but collaborates, doesn't panic but trusts. Start there, start now, one breath at a time, one moment at a time. Surrender. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally ready to live from your deepest strength. And if this journey spoke to something within you, share it, reflect on it, revisit it whenever you forget. Because surrender isn't something we master once and for all, it's something we remember again and again. Every time life whispers, "Let go,"